Workshop topics. Following a visit to Blackgates Engineering, I returned to the workshop with some parts, and after fitting the new bandsaw blade, I'll look in detail at the water pipe fittings. This is a pack containing 2 bandsaw blades for my old Burgess bandsaw, and I'm going to show how I fit one of them to the bandsaw. Now this may seem to be quite simple, but you can come unstuck, believe it or not. So that they fit in the packaging, these bandsaw blades are coiled, and they're held in place with some small ties. Be careful after you remove the ties because the blade will suddenly spring into its natural shape. And don't forget, it is a blade and it is sharp. Once I was fitting a blade very similar to this to my other bandsaw in the workshop. Once the tension of the ties was released, it leapt into shape, but the problem was the teeth were in the wrong place. I phoned Matt at Blackgates Engineering to tell him about this, and he said, well, it's because you've got it inside out. A small point perhaps, and it's only happened once. It's a good idea to check though, just in case, and make sure that the teeth on the blade are pointing downwards. The side panel of this bandsaw is held on with 3 quarter-turn latches. I don't recommend doing this. It's not a good idea to run the bandsaw without the guard in place, but I wanted to show you what was going on inside the machine. 3 pulleys, one of which is adjustable for tension and angle. This is important. Before changing the blade, switch off the power and preferably unplug it. Then it's a good idea to switch on the machine to make sure you've switched off the correct power supply. And I'm pleased to say that this machine is no longer connected to the mains supply, which means I can go ahead and remove the old blade. This is done by unscrewing this thing on the top, which drops the position of the wheel. In comparison to the new blade, this one feels really blunt, so I'll put it on my pile of blunt blades. I only throw them away when they're actually broken. You may need one in case of emergency. Fitting the new blade is quite a simple job. After fitting the blade around the pulleys, use the adjuster at the top to tension the blade. I judge its tension by the sound it makes. You've just seen me switch the power back on, and now once again I'm running the machine without the guard on. Health and safety warning, don't do this. I'm only doing it this way for the purposes of the video. You will know when you get the tension right because the bandsaw starts to sound a lot better. I switched off the machine and retightened the quarter-turn latches. Here's the bottom front one, and here's the one at the top left. There's also one at the top right, but I forgot to video that. Here I'm testing the bandsaw by cutting a piece of scrap mahogany, and it cuts the wood very well indeed. I have a couple of these old Burgess bandsaws. I keep the other one as a spare in case this one breaks down. But after I made new blade guides for this, I think it's going to last a long time. This is the brush head part of a flue brush. It's no good though for my Showman's engine because the smoke box door does not open fully because the generator mounting is in the way, and because the handle that I made for this from a piece of bar was too rigid, I could only clean half of the tubes. This brush is 3/4 of an inch in diameter, and so is this one, but it's finer and it's on a very flexible handle. I also bought a nylon brush, and you can see the difference between the 3. The one on the left is very coarse, and I was never happy with it, so I never really used it very much. Amongst other things, whilst I was at Blackgates Engineering, I bought a selection of BA brass nuts, 6BA, 4BA and 2BA. I always like to keep a comprehensive supply of hardware, because if you run out of the nuts and bolts that you need, the job stops. I also bought these. This is a 3/8 pipe 9/16 by 26 screwed elbow. Why do I need this? Well, I'm thinking about maybe replumbing the water system to the injector on my large Showman's engine. At the moment, the water feed to the injector on the Showman's engine is made up from random gas pipe fittings. And because the injector is still very touchy and very sensitive and knocks off periodically, I want to compare the inside diameter of these with the ones I already have fitted to the engine. At 8mm, the water passage in this elbow is more than adequate. Here I'm using a 3/8 twist drill to show the size of the union. I can't use any 3/8 pipe because I don't have any. 3/8 or 0.375 is the outside diameter. The inside of the pipe will be slightly less, but it's the same size piping as what's on the engine already. I also bought this. It's a water valve, but the inside diameter of this part is a bit smaller than the elbow. But as this is a water valve designed for the size of injector that I'm using, I am assuming that it will be fine. The shaft diameter of this is 12 mm, not the threaded part, just the main shaft. I was thinking about maybe drilling it out to enlarge it, but first of all I need to see how it's made and what it looks like internally. I slacken off the gland nut first of all with the spanner and then my fingers. The plug of the water valve is reluctant to release. I can see some graphited yarn in there, and when I do finally pull it out, it's tapered, which is obviously why it was stuck. For a couple of reasons, I've decided not to bother drilling this out. I don't think it needs drilling out to start with. And as far as I'm aware, this is a Jubilee fittings water valve, so it should be fine for a Jubilee fittings injector. Before I reconstruct the water system to the injector, I'm going to double check the status of the one that's already fitted. I know the water valve that's already fitted is fine. It's a modified gas tap, and I fitted O-rings to it at each end. So not only is it a taper plug type tap, it's got O-rings sealing at the top and bottom. If you're following the series A Large Model Showman's Engine, you'll see what I do with these. Stay safe, stay healthy, thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.